SAME's approach to improving engineer architect community diversity. It's presented by Wendell L. Buddy Barnes, PE, a fellow of SAME, who just happened to have been our 100th past national SAME president. Let me introduce Buddy by reading a little bit from his bio, because it's a magnificent bio. Buddy's engineering career spans over 50 years with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, with local government and private industry. Buddy retired as a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, with numerous troop assignments and Corps of Engineers district experience in Vietnam, Korea, Europe, and the U.S., from platoon leader in Vietnam to training soldiers at Fort Leonard Wood, then constructing the locks on the Ten Tom Waterway, then leading the recovery from Hurricane Frederick, on to S3 Second Engineers in Korea, and then Deputy District Engineer for the Savannah District. His distinguished career focused on mentoring staff and producing outstanding infrastructure. Buddy's last military assignment was in the Vicksburg, Mississippi area, where he was the advisor to the 168th Engineer Battalion from 1985 to 88, and a member of the Vicksburg Post. After his Army career, he joined the City of Houston's Department of Public Works and Engineering. In his 10 years with the city, he was the airport engineer and later the Deputy Director for Engineering, Construction, and Real Estate Group, and Director of the Greater Houston Wastewater Program. Upon leaving the city, he entered private consulting. He is currently Senior Operations Manager for 5 Engineering in Houston, Texas. But he has a Bachelor of Science in Engineering Management, University of Missouri-Rolla, where he is a distinguished member of the Engineering Management Academy, and he also has an MBA from Mississippi College, is a registered professional engineer in the state of Texas. But he was selected as Engineer of the Year for 2018 by the Greater Houston NSPE chapter, and Buddy has been married to Miss Mary Barnes for 50 years, and they have 2 sons and 2 fantastic grandchildren. Without further ado, I'm going to let Buddy introduce his topic and speak. Thank you, Buddy.
Thank you, Don. Let me put the camera on. Am I being heard?
Yes.
Can you? Okay, good. Well, it's Engineer Week, and one of the key topics, actually this day in Engineer Week is normally where we have luncheons with our universities and those students who are involved in engineering. But everything's to be virtual today. And when Colleen asked me to do this, we talked about the topic that was very important during Engineer Week this year. And it happens to be improving diversity and inclusion in our engineering, architect, and construction world. Well, that just tied me together with what our approach is in SAME. And so that's where we're going to go today. I'll give you a little overview of what we're doing at the national level, and then take us to where we can really have a major effect, and that's at the post level. So next slide. Oh, there he is. You can go to the next one. I didn't know he was there. We'll try another one. There we are. So why do we want diversity and inclusion? Well, there's published research which supports diversity and inclusion groups, and they make a better quality decision. They often do things faster and more fact-based manner, and have a less cognitive bias or groupthink. Thus, better decision-making equals better business performance. That's why the industry is very interested in looking right now. Similarly, research supports that diverse teams bring different experiences, perspectives, and approaches to bear on solving complex and non-routine problems. Well, the AEC industry, its biggest focus has been bringing the generational gap between boomers and millennials and solving that. Well, the next thing they need to do is solve who are all the people in the room? And do we have the right people in the room? The same focus could be expended in the recruiting process for more gender and racially diverse pool of people within the AEC industry. So where does SAME fit into this equation? Our mission, the national mission, is to build leaders, lead collaboration among government and industry to develop multidisciplinary solutions to national security and infrastructure challenges. Well, our vision takes us is to serve the nation as the foremost integrator for leadership development and technical collaboration within the AEC profession. Lastly, you have our 2025 strategic outcome is to set the industry standard for active membership that creates lasting impact on the local and national levels. Well, this puts SAME in a key position to focus on finding and developing more diverse and inclusive members and leaders in the society and our AEC partners. Well, how does the strategic plan fit into that? All of you know the strategic plan and its 5 goals, but let me mention those. We have goal 1, strengthen industry government engagement. Goal 2, build and sustain resilient communities. Goal 3 is develop leaders for our profession. 4, enrich the STEM pipeline for our nation. And 5, prepare service members and veterans for the AEC industry. Each one of those touches on elements that we think we can improve with diversity and inclusion. So that looks like a very strong match of our mission, vision, and strategic plan. Next slide. So what initiatives are we at the national level working on in 2021? Well, first of all, the top one, the COI review. Actually, we're looking at the communities of interest and really want to ensure, these are all from Heather Wishart-Smith. These are her 3 initiatives that she has her national leaders looking into. Now let me get to the COIs, the communities of interest, and ensure that they're supporting that 2025 strategic plan. Well, what is that support? Thus far in our analysis, we've looked at it and we say, well, are they strategically aligned and how is their governance? How are they doing things? What's the participation? We have in some COIs 1,000 people. How many do we have participating? Many times you can count them on both hands. Operating order and the standards. What are those standards that they're working on? The value to the members. Are they getting out to the 28,000 members now? Are they providing that technical resource to them? And then the external reach is obviously, how do you provide your worth to the 104 posts that are sitting out there? My experience in traveling last year was that many of the people at the post level really didn't know anything about COI. They really didn't know what the COI could help them with. But these are technical groups of people. There are 17 of them out there. And without mentioning all of them, please go back to your website and see which one of those COIs might attract you to be part of them. The next thing we looked at is the post and region review. For the last 2 years, we've been reviewing posts, seeing how they are, what's their heartbeat, are they doing well, are they struggling, what do they need? And now we looked at the regions to see, are the regions properly aligned? And so what we found out so far in this analysis was the strong continue to be strong. Not anything odd to think about. Membership participation is challenging. Well, in this last 11 plus months, we've moved ourselves to virtual as we are today. I never could have been at lunch with Denver Albuquerque, and Virginia on the same day. A few months ago, I was lucky enough to be in Alaska and South Florida at the same hour. So this virtual environment is allowing us to cross different divides. But once again, are we reaching out? Are we still touching, not physically, but touching our membership at the post level? That's very important, and we may have lost touch with some of them. So once again, we're inviting, actually I'm on post president's call this afternoon, inviting them to really reach out to your membership in whatever way you can to make sure that they still are connected to you. Succession planning has always been a struggle, and it shouldn't be a struggle. We need to be able to find those new leaders coming up, and that will be part of this discussion today. There is a bigger pool out there than we may be going into. And programs have always been a fight. What do we do? Should we do the same thing we did last year? But we've got all those COIs that have technical programs that might be of interest to your post members. Most of all, the important thing is see what your post members want. What are they looking for? What information? Is it something about programs? Is it something about different activities that have gone on in the area to meet their needs? And each post is different. The needs of Albuquerque are different than the needs of Houston or the needs of Virginia. The region review was even more interesting. The geographic distribution, we have certain regions that have 12 and 13 posts and certain regions that have 4 posts. So is there a way to equal out the distance, driving distance for a regional vice president? And so that's being looked into. What is the fellow distribution within these different organizations? The next thing we go to is the Key Leadership Development Commission. KLDC, well, they instituted KLDC to ensure that we are finding, developing, and cultivating those future leaders within our society. Well, KLDC was founded in May of 2020, right after Heather took office, to increase the number and diversity of SAME key leaders, ensure the consistent pipeline of interested, qualified candidates for SAME key leader positions, help members navigate their SAME and professional career by gaining and applying a diverse set of experiences, and to demystify leadership positions. We actually did a poll recently of the past presidents to see how much time you spent as president-elect, president, and past president. So someone who wants to put their name in as a national president would actually know up front that it takes some time. Does your company want to support it? So here are some questions they've asked. They wanted to, matter of fact, they're myths, and they debunked the myths. Is there no way, there's no way I have time or experience in SAME regional, to be a regional or a national leader. Well, that's false. SAME and national leadership positions are available for interested people with a wide range of availability. You don't have to just want to be president. You need to be a director. You may want to be a regional vice president. There are a number of different positions. You must know someone to be selected as a regional or national leader. That's false. It's a standard process, a very visible process. And so please, if you're interested, please make it known. SAME has smoke-filled rooms where SAME regulars handpick the leaders. That's wrong too. Oddly enough, we pick panels out of the leadership across the society to make up our selection panels for national positions. Key leadership positions aren't open to young professionals. Well, that's wrong too. At least one of our directors, national directors, every year is a young member. last year, out of the election, 3 of the 4 new elected directors were young members. And so once again, the opportunity for young people who have been working hard at the post level to move up, please put your name in the hat. I can't just nominate myself. Yes, you can. It's a self-nomination is allowable. And then one other thing in the analysis on KLDC was setting up the diversity and inclusion working group. That too began in May of 2020. Well, the term diversity very slightly depending on, oh, excuse me, let's go to the next slide and I'll take it from there. Well, what has DIWG, Diversity Inclusion Working Group, found? The term diversity may vary slightly depending on the organization, but generally is the representation of all the identities and differences, whether it's race, ethnicity, gender, disability, sexual orientation, religion, etc. Equity seeks to ensure fair treatment, equality, and opportunity commensurate compassion, as well as a fair access to information and resources. Inclusion involves people of different identities feeling and being valued and welcomed within a given setting by actively inviting their contribution and participation. So those were the foundation pieces that we set up the DIWG. Once again, they're still taking on new members. When I told them I was doing this presentation, I became a new member, and they allowed me onto their membership site tomorrow for a meeting. Well, DIWG is analyzing the survey of 1,000 SAME members and the data from the AEC professions. Almost all of these SAME members are in the AEC community, and SAME really mirrors the AEC diversity and inclusion. Both are interested in increasing that workforce and membership, but they're both struggling. So what does SAME membership look like? Well, SAME over the first century has evolved from basically that Caucasian male American membership, most of which were military officers or engineers with prior military experience, led by a military engineering service chief. But now, today, we're still about 75% male, but now 25% female, still about 78% Caucasian, but with many varied AEC backgrounds. And we say, as you may have said to incoming people, you don't have to be American, you don't have to be military, and you don't have to be an engineer to be a member. While other members surveyed did not believe that SAME and its membership were non-inclusive in actions, but there was a sense that there was apathy around seeking out new people, different people, others. Our membership is open to all. Our national leadership is no longer engineering service chiefs. Our requirement to be a national leader for the vice presidents, president-elect or president, is to be an SAME fellow. You do need some SAME and professional leadership experience, but the only requirement is to be a fellow. Well, DIWG will provide SAME's national board at JETC 2021 in May with recommendations on paths forward at the national level to grow a more diverse and inclusive SAME membership with different backgrounds or experiences, identities, and differences. Well, What I've discovered after reviewing all the DIWG reports, we as members who wish to open our arms to new members of all backgrounds do not appear to be utilizing our marketing experience. We need to remember our value proposition. Well, why SAME? I mean, if we can't tell the story of why people should be in SAME, then we probably can't tell the story of why they should lead SAME. So we really need to sharpen our tools a little bit and be ready to ask those people. We need to reach out to all of those who believe in a strong America. That's the only requirement. Believe in a strong America and bring them into SAME. Our country has always been a mixing pot, and our profession has too. If you notice all the universities, we have so many people from other countries coming to our universities, so many people coming to be part of this country. What we may be missing are those that can't get to that university, that have been here their life or for multiple generations. So to grow and improve our society, we need to bring in members with varied backgrounds, beliefs, genders, ethnicities. So where do we start? Next slide. We go back to home is where the heart is. Home is the post is where the strength of the society is. And it has been my home for over 50 years. So I broke it out from age groups up. So we start at K through 12 as we're looking at it. Students in STEM programs and their teachers are excellent places for posts to begin discussing the AECs. Think about 5th and 6th graders is when at least my granddaughter just got into STEM classes and she really got excited. I mean, it was fantastic. It just, every day she came home lit up because of a great STEM teacher. And hopefully you'll run into these, or your kids will run into them, or your friends will run into them, or you may have teachers that are good friends in the STEM program. Well, those are the places to start. You don't start at college because they've already made their mind up. You may not start at 4th grade because they may not be ready for you. But at 5th and 6th is really a good time. And at that time, I used to make presentations in Public Works, and we would take a graphic of water, and that water falling from the sky and then returning to the sky, the whole process of water. And I had parents call me up later and say, you know, Johnny or Susie came home and they really enjoyed finding out. Where can we find out more about these engineering things? Where can we find, and how can you get him to stop putting that brick in the back of the toilet to save water? And that was the other thing they complained about. So we look at it and say, how can we get involved? You can go, and in some places you can adopt a school and be able to go in and talk to those students at the earlier ages. And you may be asked to come in at career days in the high school areas. But looking at and being able to discuss things about how they built the road, what happened in a disaster, what happened in a hurricane or a tornado, or the ice storms, or the snowstorm we had last week in Houston. How do science and math get used in our work, and how would they apply it in their life? So you look at it, and so who isn't getting this information normally? Many times, and at least in large cities like ours, the inner city schools do not have as much of STEM programs as private schools and other schools. So you may see if there is a magnet school in your area. And if there's a magnet school that teaches science and engineering, that may be the target place for your post to be involved, or for you as an individual to be involved. And that STEM teacher is key to it all. The more we can excite a STEM teacher, if we can bring them into membership and see what we can do to help them. We do programs all the time for community service. Well, we may want to do community service to help out that STEM teacher. Think about how you can apply different things to bring more tools into the toolbox. Too many, my mom was a teacher, and she was always buying school supplies because the school didn't buy enough supplies. And that's probably true of teachers still today. They're always still getting more graphic paper, something to make it more exciting for that child. So let me take you from that child, 5th and 6th grade, and move up a little bit to our engineering construction camps. As Don mentioned, we all do a great job supporting them. One of the things we can do at a camp is we can have mentors. We can have people go to the camp, and many of you may have done that. I've enjoyed going to all of our camps, not as a student, but as an SAME member, and going there and just watching the kids light up, the excitement they get from practical engineering things that they're doing. Actually light up to think there are 10 of them in a group and none of them from the same town. They get to meet different people. They get to actually find different things going on, understand different things that are happening. But I'll give you a suggestion. If in your investigation in K through 12, you find a STEM teacher or multiple, we had 2 that attended the Air Force camp a couple of years ago, 2 of them from Southern California. And they got so excited. Well, you get to lead kids around for the whole time, but they got so excited, they said, we're going back and see how many more teachers we can get to come to these camps. So if you think of it, you send a young student to camp and you get 1 student excited. You send a STEM teacher to actually work at camp, and they can teach kids forever about being excited about engineering and construction. Camps, once again, terribly important. What we've talked about in the camp COI, many, as you've noticed, if you've sent things in for camps, all these kids have great academic backgrounds. They're great here and they're great there. And I keep saying, what about those kids that never even thought of going to camp, never even got to go to camp before? They may not be as academically strong, but isn't that what we want to start trying to approach? And so we're looking at that. And each post, it should, if you can look at it and say, are those kids, they may be underprivileged. I mean, many kids you send can actually afford to go to that camp. But these kids can't afford to go anywhere outside the neighborhood. So if we can put them on a plane, if we can send them there and they can get fed and taken care of for a week, that may change their life around. We may find there's a high school student that might find a way into being an engineer, even if they have to go to community college for a couple of years to build up background and grades. But you might find some more engineers out there, and they would maybe the first generation going to college. Camps are terribly important. Camps, we're working right now to see how much more we can do, how many more we can do, what's the attendance. What we're trying to get are the armed services to take over ownership of the camps, not running them, ownership of the camps. Because right now, let me use Scott Airfield in Illinois. That camp is dependent on what the commander thinks is important. And Boy Scouts happen to be more important than camps, so maybe Boy Scouts get the community work at Scott. If it goes up to Air Command, there actually is a STEM leader at Air Command. And so all of a sudden, it becomes a command decision that we need to support camps. And so we've worked very hard at the national level to make sure that the ownership by a STEM individual on senior staff is taking over the ownership of the camp. We'll still run it, we'll still do everything about it, but the key is making sure that the right executive level thought process is going on in the services that have the camps. So then we go to the next thing that we've been doing for years and years, and that's scholarships. Scholarships are used many times to support members' kids going to school. And I'm not saying we should be against that. That's heresy, obviously. But think about most of our members' kids could probably get to school without us. But many of our student members that we try to get involved, once again, I'm going back to that magnet school, connected with the leader of the magnet school and said, do you have kids that would like to go to engineering school? Well, of course they'd like to go, but they can't go to engineering school. So once again, looking outside the window that many posts may have looked through, and look at it and see a little different view out there. It isn't how do we continue this person on their journey, but how do we start someone on their journey? And they may, that's why I go back to 5th and 6th grades. When most of you, if you're engineer or technical, a STEM degree, someone took you aside probably around the 8th or 9th grade and told you what curriculum you were going to get to have for the next 4 years. Oh, they did it with you, Devin? Oh, I saw you shaking your head. So the scholarship side, we can help. Now let's get to where we can really have an impact, and this is the immediate impact, is leadership development. We all need to be identifying those future leaders. One of my jobs at the Houston Galveston Post is to identify future presidents and those future post presidents. And I try to identify them 5 years out. The purpose is to make sure that they have all the positions they need to become a qualified and successful president. Many of you have others that are looking through this whole thing. But the easy ones are the ones who volunteer for everything. Probably many of them on this banner on the call. Those are the people that never say no. When they ask them to do something, obviously they're going to do it. And that's about 10% that we use for everything. Obviously, we wear them out. They need to take a year or two off, then they come back full of vent and vinegar, and they're ready to go again. So let's look through our membership. Many of our members need a little bit of a nudge or coaxing. Almost 80% of the member firms in SAME, which means almost 80% of the society, are small business firms with great diverse leadership and membership. And we need to see, should we approach them? Have we approached them? Many small businesses are really busy running their business and don't have time, but they always have time for a leadership position if in fact they grow from it. And so picking that next in line at that small company and having them in a leadership position, the company loses a little bit of their time, but the truth is they're gaining so much of an individual in return. So that's the informal side of it. The leadership development, we have a small program here, have about 10 people going through every year. And we do it with some of our senior past presidents, young past presidents, or fellows, and do a modified course. The course, obviously Washington, D.C. and San Antonio have some very strenuous ones, but bringing people together and learning from other people's experience, other leaders' experience, whether it's in a book or whether it's in a presentation, whether it's sitting down with the head of the county and asking them, how did you grow up and what made you this senior leader in the county? Those are the type things that you can do relatively easily, but getting those young leaders, getting them involved, and then holding on to them. You never need to bring someone right to the edge and not give them a path forward. And so making sure that they know what you'd like them to do. I openly talk to people and say, have you ever thought of being the president? And most people say no. I said, why? Would you like to be? Well, yes, I'd like to be, but I haven't thought about it. And so you go through the process with them and explain to them what steps they need to take. Being a mentor comes in many different ways and forms. Many places they assign proteges or mentees to a mentor. I find that many times doesn't work. Until someone approaches you, you approach them and ask them to help you with something, ask them for more information. And if they're open to give that information, they're probably open to asking you for information. And that builds into a relationship. That relationship is where mentoring comes in handy. That's where it actually works. Many of people, any successful person that you've run into, and you say, did you have a mentor? They probably had 5, 10, 15, or 20. It didn't matter. Whoever they matched up with, that became a mentor to them. Every volunteer starts out with a little position or a duty. Many just must be asked. If you don't ask them, they probably won't hold their hand up. So asking someone and they say, I don't have enough time. Well, I have a small job. I have something for you to do. But it'll bring you in and it will have benefits for you. You'll earn those benefits by being involved. Do you have a leadership development program in the post? Do your members know the progression from committee membership to committee leader to post director to post officer to post president, all of those things? If they don't know it, bring it in. It isn't a formal class. It's something that you take on one-on-one. Do you have a SAGE group of past presidents and or fellows that may help you in directing where that post is going? Many times they have good ideas. They don't take a lot of actions, so don't expect them to do a lot, but she'll give you a lot of advice. It's kind of like your grandparents. They aren't going to go out and do it for you, but she'll tell you how to do it. And then look at those next candidates for your leadership program. So mentoring. Does mentoring look like, what does it look like in your post? Is it formal or informal? Some places assign the mentor. Some people allow them to come together. But mentor-protege relationships start with the connection of individuals, a mentor who is open to share experience and knowledge, and others in the mentee who believe that the mentor is someone that you can learn from. Maybe at work, it may be a social relationship, it may be within SAME, but they happen all the time. So let's focus on work, SAME. We need to be open to sharing our experiences and knowledge with members and grow our informed and involved group within the post, the region, and nationally. Long-term mentoring begins with communications. A question of a mentor or maybe unsolicited offer of information by a mentor. We need to be reaching out to any member, new, young, experienced, fellows, officers, and yes, non-members. Diversity begins with reaching out to someone that maybe have a different background. They may have different experience. They may be a different gender, race, ethnicity, disability, whatever. Matter of fact, many times reaching out, you're going to learn just as much as they're going to learn because you don't know their background. Inclusion involves bringing people of different identities, feeling or being valued and welcomed within a given setting by actively inviting their contribution and participation. What we always have to remember in SAME, you don't have to be an American or been in the military or an engineer. You just have to believe in America and her strong defense. So thank you for letting me talk to you. I think I've consumed enough time that you can't ask any questions. No, if you do have any questions, please let us know, and I will make great attempts to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. Don, you're on mute. We do have 2 questions that came through for the question and answer. I'm going to go ahead and list off the first one and give you a chance, buddy, to answer this. This is from Patrick Hogboom. Thanks, buddy. Is there a SAME 101 brief out there for new members to understand how SAME runs and what opportunities are out there? Is your study and analysis available for review?
Well, I don't know that there's currently, I don't know that there's a 101 brief, but there should be. Actually, there should be at every post, because in a sense, SAME, to explain to people, they need to understand that first building block, and that first building block is the post. But your question, there probably is in the resource book for posts, and I'll have to go back and see and let the people know where we can find it. But Patrick, I will make a note and see what I can find you.
Thank you, buddy. Our next question is from Halda Scott. If engineering colleges only graduate 1 in 4, how is SAME working with the universities to increase the number of graduating? As mentioned, the kids not making it through the program are STEM smart.
Right. Well, that may be a Hilda Scott that I know, but maybe not. I know Hilda Scott too. But so we have 1 in 4 make it out. What we do is with our student chapters, we work with the students and try to find mentors in posts that are associated with the student chapters. We have, the number of students going to school outside our reach are very difficult right now. And so we do have a virtual membership that the students can join, and we give them information about whether it's about resumes, whether it's about studying and everything else, and go through that process. So what we're trying to do, and I think it is a worthy goal, when we give scholarships, we're requesting that the post assign a member to work with that student, get reviews from that student, find out if they're having problems, help them with those problems, direct them to help for those problems, and make sure that that student who's accepted our funds is going to make it out of school. So that is the thing we're doing, but that's a very, very small population when you look at it. You say, how do we keep in touch with students that come out of our neighborhood, so to speak, and how can we make sure that they get out of school? I think that's a very good question. I don't have an answer for it. I think we all ought to come up with our own answer in some ways, and who can we help make it through? Many times making it through might be a suggestion. Do you really need to leave home? Do you think you might want to stay here and go to community college for a year or two before you go off to college? One, it saves mom and dad a bunch of money, but two, you're a little more mature. This is spoken to the men in the group. A little more mature by the time you're a junior, and you can go to school, and all the flash and excitement doesn't get you all confused, and you can finish your degree. It seems like young ladies are able to go to school, find a way to finish in 4 years, and go on with their career. And we seem to take a number of years to find our way through the university system. So this is Paul Owens. Our programs are strong in K through 12 scholarships, camps, but dating. What are some of the answering initiatives take account COVID, technology? Please take a look at okay. This year has the entire educational system turned upside down, quite frankly. Whether it's in K through 12 or whether it's in universities, I watch the children who are going to school and hope they're getting more out of it than it appears. So what are those initiatives? I'll tell you, the initiatives are making sure that we stay in contact with those that we have sent off to K through 12 or scholarships or anything else. Let me bring this up for you. If in fact you had a student go to camp, not last summer because they didn't go, but the summer before, have you stayed in contact with that student since that student went to camp? Because that student is ready to go to college. If you haven't, then we're missing a chance to link up with people from K through 12 all the way into college and become a young member. and they may get a job in engineering, construction, or architecture, and they may not come back to your post, but they may come to my post, and you ought to be able to tell me they're coming to my post. So most important thing is go back and make sure that you can stay connected with those that you have helped, whether it's send them to camp, whether they got a scholarship. You need to make sure that, especially in K through 12, you do that through discussing with their parents. You don't go directly with them then. Once they get to college, they'll converse with you, and they'll even ask you if you can get some help because the third semester of calculus is not making any sense at this point. And so, but if we aren't doing that, we aren't getting our money's worth out of what we gave that student. If all we gave them was money, then we're not doing our duty. I mentioned that SAME is looking at ulterior criteria other than grades. Yes, the camp COI is, and I don't believe that's finished being evaluated. That's the answer, Elizabeth. Once again, checking in on the camp COI and send an email to the chair and send it to Joe and say, well, Buddy Barnes thinks that you ought to be looking at disadvantaged kids and may not have as high a grade point. Can we get them into camp? Please use my name. You don't have to use your own, and that'll get Joe to call me, and we'll get that initiative back on track.
Very nice. Any other questions?
Hey, so this is Leanne. I'm cutting in here just real quick because
Go ahead.
as a panelist, I'm not allowed to use the Q&A. But I just wanted to say that I don't know if you remember this, buddy, but about 5 years ago, you were my mentor. We met at the SBC, at the National SBC, and I talked to you about how I could be a bigger asset to SAME. And in that time, I went from being a post vice president to being the president, to being the deputy regional vice president, and to being the regional vice president for the Middle Atlantic region. So I want to thank you for your efforts in helping mentor me, and just reiterate how important it is for you guys to reach out to people who you think might be good participants, because that's really what it takes. You know, Buddy took me under his wing, and now, you know, I've had great success in the society, and it's really improved my leadership in my personal life and in my professional life. So thank you, Buddy.
Well, I will always remember you, Leanne. And the important thing there is that she reached out uncomfortably. She reached out. We were in a national meeting and just said, "Hey, can you help me?" And that started a relationship. And from that, she has gone on to bigger and better things every year. And so if you're that person who wants to know a little bit, you can always, my email's on the website as past president. So you want to get a hold of me, you can always get a hold of me at buddy.barnes01@gmail.com. But grabbing someone, and no matter who they are, whether it's Heather as president, whether it's Mark Hanley, whether it's Charlie, you know, any of the vice presidents, any of the regional vice presidents can help you if you're at the post level. But if you have questions, we need to be able to answer them, so we can make sure that you're the valued member that you are getting everything out of our society that we can give you.
So thank you very much, Buddy. Any more questions, Colleen, that you might be aware of?
I believe we've answered all the questions in the formal question and answer, and also the IM.
So we're ready for some fun and raffle prizes, Colleen. You want to dive in there?
Good. Well, excellent. I'm going to be like Leanne and just kind of give a shout out. I'm Colleen Rust. I'm the president-elect for the Albuquerque Post. And quite honestly, less than 2 years ago, I showed up to an in-person meeting before COVID, volunteered to be a STEM point of contact, and then quickly became the secretary, now post president-elect. I'm also very happy to say that 2 of us on this panel are actually the SAME's Leadership Development Program class of 2020 and 2021. So it's really whatever you want to do. STEM is very personal and important to me for all the reasons that Buddy just went through, and how we reach people from all the way from K through 12 to college, and then on through your career and mentoring. I'm blessed with 3. I have a 2nd grader and 2 1st graders, and a big shout out. Just, you can really imagine whatever you want to do is case in point, I identified a very energetic teacher in my elementary school, and I am now actively funding as a private parent to drag along as many students as possible. And it really can be anything that you can think of, whether it's on a post level, on a personal level. But with that, I'm going to roll into our wonderful raffles. I can't thank our sponsors enough. We are secured 12 raffles today. And I'd like to give a shout out to Sundance Consulting. That's a woman-owned, Native-owned company. We just celebrated 15 years. That's actually my place of employment. We have Banda Group International, LLC, who has national offices all across the country. Special thanks to Wilson and Company. I know we have some of the folks on the call. Thank you again for them. As Brett mentioned earlier, the Denver Metro Post graciously offered 2 general admittances to their virtual April month-long conference. And as a co-owner of a local brewery here in Albuquerque area, we have a gift card from the Brew Lab 101 Beer and Cider Company. With that, I'll take the next slide and I'll explain a little bit. We used a random generator. We pulled the registrations and names. And so we'll go ahead and announce the winners. So be very excited if you see your name. This is just a little information. And of course, I want to give a shout out to the sponsors who actually provided these. First winner is David. And actually, I want to pause there. I'm going to apologize ahead of time if I missay your name. Not my forte, so apologies. David Cortinas, you have a Visa gift card that's going to be emailed to you. Brian Murdoch, another Visa gift card. John Nolly, a Visa gift card. Larry Blair, a Visa gift card. Scott Chambers, a Visa gift card, and Kyle Sauer, a Visa gift card. And these are all been sponsored by my owner, September Myers with Sundance Consulting. So congratulations, you'll be getting an email shortly. Next up is we have a gift card with my local brewery, Brew Lab 101 Beer and Cider Company, and that goes to Matthew Burgos. And we have 2 Starbucks gift cards from the Banda Group International. We have one for Dana Patterson and one for Rebecca Temmer. You'll be getting an email after this. We graciously were offered a Visa gift card from Wilson and Company, and the winner of that is Carl Uchtil. I'm going to say that wrong. A really great shout out again for the Denver Metro Post. We have 2 virtual conference tickets, and I believe Brett's going to cut in here, but these are virtual and they will be transferable if this is something that you want to share, not only for yourself, but or somebody within your company. We have the winners, Jillian Breeden and Brad Dybell. Brett, do you want to say anything else about the virtual conference?
Thanks, Colleen. I think I look forward to engaging with the winners. Hopefully you can take advantage of it yourself, but as Colleen mentioned, we did make them transferable just in case. And you can transfer them beyond your post. Just ask that you look at current SAME members for that transfer. And then you'll get directions on reaching out to me and getting the information for the registration and how to get your credit for that. And Colleen, if I could, I just wanted to take one moment and thank you and Leanne and Don and Buddy as well for this newfound partnership here between the Albuquerque Post, the Central Virginia Post, and the Denver Metro Post. I look forward to where this might go, and thanks for letting us be part of your event.
Wonderful. So Colleen, I want to thank you personally for all the work that you put in to make this happen. You've done a magnificent job. And to everybody who's attended, don't forget there are PDH hours available for this presentation. Colleen, do you have anything else before we close the meeting?
I don't believe so. So yes, just to reiterate, if you would like a PDH credit hour, I will be sending out certificates. Fortunately, our naming scheme on this platform is not as clear as we were hoping. So please just give me your first and last name and an email address, and you'll get a certificate after the meeting.
Thank you, everybody, for attending. It's been a wonderful meeting. Appreciate it. Bye.